We'll begin with what a story is and what makes it newsworthy. A news story educates, informs, investigates, and sometimes entertains. It usually doesn't have a happy ending, but sometimes it does. Above all, a news story must be based on facts, or it could be misleading and likely won't be selected for air. Generally, a story is what happens when characters interact with some kind of conflict. It's based on their experiences and difficulties, and the details reveal the story's essence as well as the character's goals. What a reporter does is observe, collect those details, and write them in the best order with the writing techniques that make storytelling interesting. By the way, there are several kinds of news stories, including breaking news, also called straight news, human stories, also known as features, and formats for business and sports. They all have a different style, but they're all based on factual evidence and must rise to the same level of interest. When looking for a good story, look for events and people with a wide impact. International broadcasters are not just looking for local or national news. It has to be a story of international interest. Stories like earthquakes, wars, human rights issues, politics, of course, diplomacy, culture, art, food, celebrities, leaders and governments, and much more. The list is endless, but just make sure that the stories you're pitching have an international relevance. The world of news is massive, so you want to find your own beat, your own focus. If a lot that's internationally interesting happens in your area, you specialize in that. For example, a reporter from Gaza, Palestine may be stuck where they are, but they have an endless supply of stories of international interest and can provide their people with a public service as owners of their narrative. The same goes for reporters in Africa, Europe, and Asia. A skilled regional reporter can do a much better job of producing a story from their own country. Why do we tell stories? We tell stories to inform, to reveal what's happening in the public interest. We warn of danger, connect cultures, and humanize people. We help audiences understand more about what's going on in the world and around them. A good international reporter tells a story in several contexts, but puts the regional or local context first, and then helps an international audience to see why they should care. Stories can also convince viewers that something matters, but it actually has to matter. An international flight gone missing or any major plane crash, for example, is of global interest. The coronavirus pandemic, terror attacks, a coup, an occupation, a violent mass street protest, cryptocurrency or gold prices are all stories with the potential to resonate with a global audience. Stories of survival against all odds and triumph in the face of adversity are becoming popular in many newsrooms. And sometimes, if a story is local but way out of the ordinary, it can be of global interest. So always ask yourself, why am I telling this story? Will people on the other side of the world be interested in hearing about it? Does it provide some answers to a global problem or shed more light on it? What am I getting at? Because a successful story must ask and answer questions and keep the audience asking for more. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry can tell stories, which social media has proven. We are in the age of a storytelling explosion where anyone can post or tweet about any idea and it can go viral. But a journalistic piece has gone through a process of verification, analysis, balance, and objectivity. It's produced and reported with responsibility for the truth and accountability to the characters. Journalism is the responsible sharing of information, and every journalist should be accountable for and committed to telling the truth, no matter what. But to do your characters justice, you have to be able to empathize with them enough to gain understanding alongside the details. Empathy is the ability to sense and imagine what others are thinking or feeling. Use empathy while you're recording and relating the experiences of your character. Great reporting actually moves an audience to empathize with the characters too. This is especially helpful with a call to action or caution. There's some really interesting science behind why stories can be a good way to foster empathy. Researcher Paul Zak found that stories change our behavior by changing our brain chemistry. In one study, Zak and his team showed a group of volunteers a story about a father and his son. The son had cancer. The father struggled with the terminal nature of his son's disease. So, researchers drew blood from the viewers before and after and found that watching it caused them to produce two chemicals: cortisol, which focuses our attention on what's important, and oxytocin, which is connected to caring, connection, and empathy. After they were done with the study, the participants were paid and then given a chance to donate the money to charity. And guess what? Those with both cortisol and oxytocin in their systems were more likely to donate. The higher the chemical levels, the more money they even gave. Sensationalism provokes public interest at the expense of accuracy and ethics. I suggest you avoid it like the plague if you want your stories to be taken seriously. Not every story you tell will have a magical impact on the public, but a desperation for ratings looks obvious to the public and shows you are likely willing to doctor the truth in a way that's self-serving and dangerous. And why would you want to do that? Really, why? Earning the public's interest is difficult, and that trust is also easy to lose. A good journalist puts people first and is obsessed with facts, balance, fairness, and objectivity.